Hey everybody, YPJ here with another Ask Pastor Jason video. Pastor Jason's going to answer all of our questions that we have about the Bible. So without further ado, here's Pastor Jason.
I don't know about all of your questions, but I am going to take another stack of those that you handed in. A lot of them asked about miracles and magic in the Bible. And there was even a question about a mythical creature, a unicorn. So I'm going to start there. Are there unicorns in the Bible? You know, most modern translations don't use the word unicorn, but there is a word in Hebrew that's translated to mean a one-horned animal. It's translated oftentimes as wild ox or oxen in like Job 39, 9 through 12, it talks about them, or Isaiah 34:7. So there's passages that talk about that. Most of our translations don't use the word unicorn. May not be referring to a unicorn, just an animal with one horn. And obviously there's lots of animals with just one horn. So the question though that I want to deal with is, sometimes people say, well, if the Bible says there's unicorns, that's kind of ridiculous because they don't exist now. So why would you assert that the Bible says it and they don't exist now? But that doesn't really make sense, because we know there are lots of animals at one time that don't exist now, like the dinosaurs. So who knows if that's what's being talked about there, if it's a unicorn or something else. If it was a unicorn, then we would understand it as just a regular animal, not a magical animal like they're portrayed these days. But that does bring the question, some of your questions, what about Jesus? Why does Jesus have power thingies? Not sure what a power thingy is, but I think we're talking about the same thing. Or how did Jesus heal people? You're asking, what about Jesus? Did he have magic or did he have powers? And he did have many powers. He healed people. He has great power. He turned water into wine. He calmed a storm standing in a boat. He caused the blind to see and the deaf to hear. He cleansed people with skin disease, leprosy, and made them whole again. He even called dead people out of the grave that they would live again. He cast demons out of people. So Jesus had a lot of power, and that's because Jesus is God. Hebrews 1:1-3 says, "Long ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets, but in these last days he's spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things, through whom also he created the world. He is the radiance of the glory of God, the exact imprint of his nature, and he upholds the universe by the word of his power." So Jesus, God the Son, created the world. He called it into existence. It's all going to end as his. He will inherit it all. And it says that right now the universe is held together by the word of his power. So Jesus has incredible power. He's sovereign over all things because he is God. Which brings this question: is God really real? You know, a lot of what we talk about it comes down to faith, and the Bible answers the question, is God real, with a pretty emphatic yes, that God is real. He did create everything, and it does come to faith. And I talked about Sunday in the sermon something that C.S. Lewis said. C.S. Lewis said, "I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else." And really that's what faith in the Lord is. We see God by believing. And when we see him through believing, our belief is strengthened. So it's kind of circular there, right? But some people would say seeing is believing. If I could see God, I would believe. But with God, it's the other way around. Believing is seeing. When Jesus stood outside the tomb of Lazarus, he said, I told you if you believed, you would see the glory of God. Everybody was going to see somebody come out of the grave who had been dead. Some of them would see, only those who believed would see God in that and see the glory of God in that. So faith is the evidence of things unseen. Hebrews says it is the way we see God. And then the question, can John walk on water? And I assume you're talking about the Apostle John. If you're talking about Pastor John, I would like to try. We'll see if he can.
I'm up for that.
You're up for that? Okay. But if you're talking about the Apostle John, Jesus did give a lot of authority and power to his apostles. They were given power to heal and to cast out demons. Some of the prophets in the Old Testament did raise people from the dead. And while the Apostle John, we don't read about him walking on water, we do read about Peter walking on water, getting out of the boat and walking on water, as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus. When he got his eyes off Jesus, he began to sink. And really, that's the point of all the power, all the miracles, all the things that are shown about Jesus in the Bible are given to us, not that we would look at the miracles, but that we would keep our eyes on Jesus, that they would point us to him, to know that he's God and know that we can trust him. Thanks.
Thank you, Pastor Jason.